Hi, everyone. I want to talk about a couple of things about the hero's journey that you might not have considered. Most people know there's 12 stages to the hero's journey. It was conceptualized by Joseph Campbell. It is based on the stages of character and human potential and change that we all go through psychologically. This is what makes it so compelling as a story framework. We are always perceiving things from our own level of consciousness. This psychological framework in the hero's journey is a way to make your personal story relatable and compelling to thousands and millions of strangers. That's one aspect of the hero's journey. It is based on this psychological framework of how humans go through changing character. And it's really helpful and transformational on an inner level, even to understand the basic framework and stages of the hero's journey. So I've just finished teaching a workshop on our holy hook. And the hook is holy because it is aspect of our character that is divine. The hero is so compelling to readers and viewers. That's why it's used in so many movies, because it gives people a way to see that humans can hold that mythic or divine potential to change. At heart, the hero's journey is about change and transformation. The hook is really about finding that anchor, that fundamental piece to your story that is going to form the beginning, the key narrative through line, and the end point to the narrative so that it will be fulfilling, transformational, and satisfying to the reader. It's crucial to find this narrative through line because that is going to help you decide what to focus on, where to start the story, and most importantly, what to do from the midpoint onwards. In my opinion, is the trickiest part of a book, that middle part of the narrative. I can't tell you how many writers I've spoken to who have been on fire and enthusiastic, written 30,000 or even 40,000 words of a memoir or a narrative nonfiction, and then they reach that midpoint and get so jumbled up and don't really know what to do with the story from there. That is because they haven't identified depth and layers of the hook that are really important to a compelling personal true story, which is why I taught this workshop today. When I watch a movie, when I see an ad, when I talk to anyone, I'm not really hearing them. I'm looking at myself and thinking about myself and how it applies to me. This psychological framework used in the hero's journey stages is a way to make your personal story or a story relatable and compelling to thousands and millions of strangers. We are always perceiving things from our own level of consciousness. That's one aspect of the hero's journey. It is based on this psychological framework of change and how humans change and go through changing character. And it's really transformational on an inner level to understand the basic framework and stages of the hero's journey. Another aspect that I've heard people say, because I'm a female and I identify as female, because it's hero, which is the masculine version of, so you'd say heroine, I guess, if you're separating it into genders. Some writers assume that it is a very masculine framework and way of looking at story. And I completely disagree with this. I've looked at Maureen Murdoch's heroine's journey. I've also looked at When Woman Rose Rooted, which is a retelling of the hero's journey from that feminine perspective. And I see the same patterns playing out. I don't see the hero's journey as a male female framework. It doesn't have a gender, and I don't see the hero's journey as lacking anything that women need to add to that. When I looked at The Heroine's Journey by Maureen Murdoch, I really just see different layers to the hero's journey. It is not about action and slaying dragons and shootouts. At core, it is about the symbolism and metaphors of these stages and behaviors and the ways that these psychological narratives and symbols and myths can show up in our stories. I once had a student say to me, I can't write about myself from the perspective of the hero's journey because I didn't do anything physical in this story. You don't have to have done anything physical. At core, the hero's journey is so compelling as a memoir framework because the inner enemy and the inner conflict is really what drives a personal narrative. So you think, I can't write about the hero's journey because I didn't slay any physical dragons. I'm not a firefighter. If you look at it from a symbolic level, the enemy is always you. You are always the villain in your story. The hero's journey framework is a way to see how that has shown up in material or physical aspects of your relationships or your life. So if you look at that from a perspective of you were terrified of doing something, that's the beginning of your story. Let's say you got fired from your job and you had to move house, or you became homeless, or there was some deep change thrust upon you in your life. You had to overcome an inner enemy, an inner resistance and block to move to the next level of your life and change. By seeing all of this hero's journey stuff as symbolic and metaphorical, it frees you up to start exploring your story from a different perspective and getting that bird's eye view of what makes it compelling and relatable to complete strangers. One more thing that I wanted to share. The hook was about finding the unique and valuable hook and worthiness of your story, because if you don't feel that your story is worthy, universal, and relatable, and you don't see these aspects of the hook, you won't have the drive to write it. It also won't feel as meaningful and significant to the world. So part of finding the hook is in the third stage of the hero's journey, which is refusal of the call. And this brings me to one of the biggest misconceptions I get about the hero's journey, is that it needs to be sequential. Write a chapter on the ordinary world, write a chapter on the call to adventure, write a chapter on refusal of the call. This is not true. Coming back to the symbolic and metaphorical nature of storytelling, it is patterns. It's like music. It's like art. It's all about patterns and symbolism. That refusal of the call aspect is really going to form the beginning of your story. I teach writing the first draft with these 12 stages to make sure that you have all of the stages down on paper, because we all know you can't see the story until you've written the first draft. You don't really know all that went into it. But then when you go back to revise it and you understand the hook and the anchor point that is going to compel and propel that story onwards, and also keep it going from the midpoint onwards, coming to the refusal of the call stage helps you find the deep layer to your hook, which I believe is holy. This part of your character has always provided a lot of friction and conflict to you. And it also ties into the villain and that inner enemy that you are seeking to overcome in your hero's journey narrative. I think those are the three aspects I wanted to explore quickly today. The hero's journey is not male or female or masculine or feminine in nature. It is a symbolic, psychological, human framework of change. And that is why it is so compelling to people on a core level, and why so many storytellers, movie scripts, memoirs, best-selling books, even political campaigns, ads, jingles. At heart, it is about going from human to that mythic, godlike potential, or recovering that in yourself and showing other humans how they can do it too. And this is the power of finding your hero's journey story in whatever experience that you are writing about. Key to that is finding your hook. It's never just a scene or a piece of the story. It is at heart what makes you. There's never been another human who has experienced life and perceived life in the way that you have, and made certain choices when certain problems have arisen. And this ties in with why the hook is so holy, because it forms the basis of your character. Your character is comprised of your values and your beliefs, and this is what will drive the story forward. It's this friction point between things that you value and things that you don't want in your life that will form the propulsion for your hero's journey. I just want to share a little bit more about why I'm so passionate about teaching the hero's journey in the art of memoir. Whether you want to get published or not, whether you want to write a bestseller or just get your story down in a way that you can see it properly, is both equally valuable to me. And this is why I teach these core aspects of personal story and memoirs that sell inside the art of memoir. If you'd like to know more about my art of memoir signature program, I'll link to where you can find out more below. I hope this has shared a few new insights and cleared up a few assumptions you might have made about the hero's journey.